The distress beacon had been silent for 3 cycles when Aaron finally traced it to the frozen moon of Cathara 7. He stood at the edge of the crashed vessel, his breath forming clouds in the sub-zero air, and wondered what kind of fool would establish a research station in Predator territory this dense. The answer came in the form of frantic scratching from inside the wreckage. Aaron pulled open the twisted hatch, and 2 pairs of luminescent eyes stared back at him from the darkness. They weren't human eyes. They belonged to Catharan Alpha, cubs, apex predators that would grow away. 300 kilograms and hunt in packs capable of taking down armored transports. These 2 were barely the size of terrier dogs. Well, Aaron muttered, noting the frozen corpse of their mother wedged in the corridor behind them. Guess I'm a babysitter now. The cubs, one silver-furred, one midnight black, pressed against the back wall, emitting high-pitched warning growls that would have been intimidating if they weren't also shivering violently. Aaron had dealt with worse. He'd survived the Proxima rebellions, outrun a supernova's shockwave, and once talked a hive queen out of declaring war. 2 scared cubs didn't even make his top 10. He opened his thermal coat. In, now, before we all freeze. The silver cub, the bolder of the 2, moved first, slinking forward with ears flat against her skull. The black one followed, more hesitant. Within moments, they were huddled against Aaron's chest, their cold noses pressing into his thermal shirt as he sealed the coat around them. "Sarah and Shadow," he said, feeling the silver one's rapid heartbeat against his ribs. "You look like a Sarah, and you—" He glanced down at the black cub's eyes peering from beneath the coat's edge. Definitely a Shadow. Getting back to his ship proved more complicated than expected. The cubs refused to leave the coat's warmth, which meant Aaron had to climb a ice cliff one-handed, while 2 frightened predators squirmed against his torso. By the time he reached the ship, his muscles burned and the cubs had fallen into exhausted sleep. The mission parameters had been simple. Investigate the beacon, recover any survivors, return to the fleet. Nobody had mentioned babysitting apex predators. But as Aaron settled into the pilot's seat carefully, so as not to wake his passengers, he found he didn't particularly care about parameters anymore. 3 hours into the flight, Sarah emerged from the coat, blinking at the ship's interior with wide, curious eyes. Shadow followed moments later, both cubs exploring the cockpit with the cautious wonder of children in a new world. Navigation console. Off limits, Aaron said as Sarah pawed at a glowing button. Life support definitely off limits. That compartment, he pointed to a storage locker, might have something you can eat. He found protein rations which the cubs devoured with savage efficiency. Watching them tear into the packaging with developing fangs, Aaron couldn't help but smile. Humans had a saying, "We don't abandon pack." It didn't matter that these weren't human cubs. It didn't matter that they'd grow into creatures that could kill him without effort. They'd hidden under his coat. They'd trusted him when they had every reason not to. That made them pack. The fleet's xenobiologist wanted to take the cubs to a research facility. The captain wanted them relocated to a preserve. Aaron told them both in terms that violated several regulations, exactly where they could relocate themselves. "They stay with me," he said simply. And they did. Over the following weeks, Aaron watched Sarah and Shadow transform. They grew rapidly. Within a month, they'd tripled in size. Their playful wrestles became genuine sparring matches. Their curious chirps deepened into the resonant growls of maturing predators. But something else changed too. Something the xenobiologist couldn't explain. Catharan alphas hunted by instinct, following patterns coded into their DNA by millions of years of evolution. They were brilliant killers but operated on pure predatory logic. Sarah and Shadow learned to think. It started small, Sarah watching Aaron repair a damaged panel and then, later, pawing at the same panel when a connection came loose. Shadow observing the ship's navigation protocols and somehow understanding that certain flashing lights meant danger. "Impossible," the xenobiologist said over subspace. "Catharans don't have that kind of cognitive—" The transmission cut off as the ship's alarm screamed. 3 pirate vessels, emerging from behind Cathara 7's sister moon. Aaron's hand flew to the weapons console, but he was outnumbered and outgunned. Sarah's growl rumbled through the cockpit, deeper now, commanding. She moved to the sensor array, pawing at the display showing the pirates' formation. Then she looked at Aaron and he understood. "You want to hunt," he said. She bared her fangs in what might have been a smile. 20 minutes later, Arin's ship limped toward the pirate vessels. Engines sputtering, broadcasting a distress signal. The pirates took the bait, closing in for an easy kill. They didn't see the airlock cycle. Didn't notice two massive shapes launching into the void. Magnetic grips on their custom harnesses locking onto the lead pirate ship's hull. By the time the pirates realized they had boarders, Sarah and Shadow were already inside. Arin listened to the screams over the comm channel. He probably should have felt bad about it. Probably should have warned the pirates that they weren't facing ordinary creatures, that these were alpha predators who'd learned from humanity's greatest strength, adaptability. But he remembered two terrified cubs hiding under his coat at dawn, trusting him to keep them safe. The pirate ships went dark one by one. When Sarah and Shadow returned, their fur matted with blood and their eyes bright with triumph, Arin realized something the xenobiologist had missed. Catharans hunted by instinct, yes, but these two had learned something more valuable from him. They'd learned to hunt with purpose, with strategy, with the understanding that pack meant everything. As dusk fell over Cathara 7 on their approach vector, Arin watched his two companions settle into their usual positions. Sarah at the navigation console, Shadow monitoring communications. No longer cubs hiding under his coat, but partners who'd chosen to stay. "Good hunt," he said quietly. Sarah's rumbling purr filled the cockpit. The galaxy would learn, eventually, what happened when humanity's stubbornness met an apex predator's instinct, when pack bonds transcended species and two abandoned cubs grew into legends. By dawn, they'd been helpless. By dusk, they'd led the hunt and they were just getting started.